We're back. I'm talking to Dr. Issa from Issa Health Solutions. Look him up on Facebook. And you said you're causing trouble on
A
Twitter.
little bit, just to wake up some doctors and some like myself, and some patients.
Yeah. So, what's your Twitter?
Dr. Ramon Issa.
Dr. Ramon Issa,
At
ISSA.
Yep.
So, we said we'd talk a little bit about practical. So, let's say somebody listening out there is like, man, I'm overweight. I got high blood pressure. I've tried every diet. I can't lose weight. So, let's go over some practical things that starting today you can do to become healthier and really take advantage, because it's like a machine. Like a mechanic can fix a machine because he understands how it works. So when he sees it doing something, he's like, oh, well, that means this is low or this is broken or whatever. So in the same way, what can we do today to start getting healthier?
Sure. So that you bring up a good point again, which I always like to point out. Um, is your goal? You need to know what your goal is and where you're at. Are you a non-diabetic, non-obese? You do not have metabolic syndrome. You do not have fatty liver. And if you don't know what these things are, you need to get with your doctor and find out if you have these things. So in my head, as I'm talking to you, as I talk to anybody, and I think of myself, I have a 5-step big picture plan of order of importance. As an emergency room doc, I have to prioritize injuries.
Yeah, what's going to kill you right now
Exactly.
versus diabetes that might kill you in 20 years.
Exactly. So I've got to prioritize things and say, what is okay, you've got 5 things to do in your life, okay, to be healthy. And if I could only do one thing right now, what would I do? If I can do 2 things, then what would I do? If I could do 3 things, a prioritized step plan of where your focus should be. And so, but in order to be able to do that properly, you need to know where you're at, because like I just said, if you're a healthy, lean person that doesn't have obesity or diabetes, yeah, in 16 hours of not eating, called fasting, where you just drink water but don't have any food or whatever, your insulin will drop, your engine will go up, and your fat burning will go up. But guess what happens? If you're obese and diabetic, it doesn't take 16 hours. It could take up to 72 hours in a row of not eating.
That's what happened to you.
That's what happened to me. But you don't know this. So when your doctor's talking to you, or when I'm talking to you, I need to know, is this person obese and has fatty liver and is very high insulin levels? Then the normal thing that that keeps somebody healthy is not going to work.
Okay.
Or it might take 10 years.
So step one.
Are you trying to stay healthy, or are you trying to get healthy?
Okay.
Oh,
so,
huge.
So let's talk about the different things.
Yes, we need to tease that out.
Okay.
So you want to talk about how to stay healthy or how to get healthy?
Let's talk about how to get healthy.
Okay, thank you. So I got to clarify that, because in my mind, I've got this checklist. Like when I see a patient in the ER, I put you on a checklist. You come into the ER, are you awake? Check, boom. You see, do you respond to my questions? Check, boom. Are you moving air? Check, right? Mm-hmm. So if you come to me and you're like, how do I get healthy? So I say, do you have obesity, diabetes, fatty liver, metabolic syndrome? Check, you have one or more of the above. You need to focus on getting healthy. So you got yourself into a state that was unnatural by doing things that were unnatural, so you're going to have to do things at a greater level. So number one, here's kind of the basic principles on just very simply, what's the big picture in a real world setting? Okay. Number one, so out of my 5, the 5-step baby steps, I'll just throw them out in my brain, how I look at somebody.
Baby steps.
I triage, because number one, I call it, don't keep making yourself sick. Don't make yourself sick. So it's the 3 don'ts. These are 3 don'ts that are, if you only did these 3 things, you will get healthier.
3 or 5?
3. So step 1 is the 3 don'ts. And I'll tell you what, that's: don't drink sugar, eat processed junk food, and don't eat more than 3 times in a 12-hour period each day. That's step number 1 for everybody on the planet to stop getting sick.
Okay, so let's go over them. So number 1.
Step 1 is the 3 don'ts. Don't drink sugar, don't eat processed junk food, don't eat more than 3 times, including stacks and everything else. You get 3 times, 3 meal tickets, and you have 12 hours to use those 3 meal tickets to put food and stuff in your mouth each day. That's the rules I have for all humans on the planet. Everybody should be doing this. I believe, my theory is, breaking those rules, drinking sugar, eating processed junk food, and eating more than 3 times in 12 hours.
Let's be real practical. What is drinking sugar? So obviously drinking a soda.
Soda, fruit juice, anything sugar. Your latte at the Starbucks or at the whatever, that's sugar. Don't drink it. You have a Gatorade, that's sugar. Pop, that's sugar. Fruit juice, that's sugar. Be drinking sugar. You're not a hummingbird. You don't eat food, right? You don't drink your food. You eat it, right?
That's
you don't,
right.
Yeah, we're not hummingbirds and fruit bats. They can't get fatty liver. Actually, they cannot get fatty liver. Hummingbirds and fruit bats. They can use fructose. That's half of drinking sugar. That's half of fruit sugar. It's half of pop. High fructose corn syrup. Whatever you do, humans do not need to drink sugar.
So let's just quickly take an aside on this. Fructose is the
Half a
devil.
sugar. Half a sugar.
Half a sugar is fructose. Fructose
That causes fatty liver.
causes fatty liver.
And raises
so
your insulin.
when you eat stuff like high fructose corn syrup, when you see your ketchup and you look at the first
Sugar.
ingredient, high fructose corn syrup,
Fructose.
that's just basically triglycerides
Waiting to
your
happen.
liver. Yeah, just ready to destroy your liver.
And the reason why sugar, when I say sugar, in my head, I have a picture of glucose and a fructose molecule. When I say starch, I have a picture of glucose molecules. And the reason why this is important, sugar, whether you eat it or drink it, but I'll tell you why I separate drinking and eating here in a second. If you were healthy and you didn't have diabetes or fatty liver, okay, and normal insulin levels and normal fat in your body, you can almost have as much carbohydrate and glucose, starch, wheat, potatoes, pasta, whatever, grains, beans. You can have almost whatever you want. I don't even know if there's a limit because it has no fructose. Okay, and your body has a regulatory mechanism, like we're talking about regulation. It does not want to turn glucose, which is starch, which is potatoes and pasta and rice and whatever. It doesn't want to turn that into fat in your liver. There's a rate limiting step, and it has an energy sensor and checks, and it will burn it and store it safely, and it'll do the last thing it'll do with glucose is turn it into liver fat, raising your insulin.
Right.
But fructose is a sugar that bypasses that mechanism in your body. There's no safety mechanism. If you eat or drink glucose or fructose, that half a sugar, not potatoes, because potatoes have no fructose to really speak of in grains and bread. There's no fructose. They don't want to be turned into fat in your liver. But sugar, half of it goes straight into liver fat. 97% of it. Liver fat. Fructose.
And when you see high fructose corn syrup
Fructose.
on the back of it, it's just pure fructose.
Well, no, it's 50%. So it's kind of a misnomer. I get kind of upset with industry because they call it high fructose corn syrup. Corn has no fructose. If you made corn syrup like your grandpappy did and whatever 100 years ago, we had corn syrup. Why didn't we have fatty liver and diabetes, metabolic syndrome? There's no fructose in corn or in corn syrup. It's dextrose, 100%. Your body will use it. That's fuel. And your body says, no liver fat for you. That's glucose. See, it's safe. It's a safe sugar. But when we added fructose to something that had zero fructose, we turned it to 50% fructose instead of.
So you're saying they're adding that fructose in?
They make it. They take the dextrose. They add fructose. Why? Because it's very sweet. But that 50% of that sugar now, we were 100 years ago when we had the dextrose corn syrup. That's what our sugar was. If you look at pop and drinks, a long time ago, before 1970s, it was dextrose. It wasn't fructose. It wasn't high fructose corn syrup. They didn't know how to inject fructose into the pure glucose corn syrup. Once you did that, it's a bypass. It does not follow the partition where your body says, I do not want to make liver fat because that makes high insulin. Now you can never lose weight. You're going to become diabetic. It just goes liver fat, liver fat. That fructose, 97% of it, only the liver can handle. It's a missile, like a heat-seeking missile, like a needle pointing at your liver. Glucose is like a pressure, pushes all over your body. Everything can use glucose. Nothing in your body needs fructose. It's not essential. But only your liver, which is like, 5 pounds of your 160 pounds, only that mass can process fructose. And it can be overwhelmed very quickly with sugar, which is fructose. Corn, zero fructose. Does that make sense?
Yep. So
that's why sugar is so powerful.
Fruit obviously have fructose in them.
Yeah, fruit has fructose, but it's hard to overdo fructose in its natural form. I've never seen any study saying eat a bunch of fruit and now you have diabetes, you have fatty liver. I've never seen it, but I have seen a study. There's very nice studies where they give you processed sugar, and you have in 3 weeks I can increase your liver fat by 33% and your insulin levels. Boom.
Didn't they do a study on medical?
It's called the
students?
candy diet.
Yeah, they gave them like a pound of sugar a day.
Yeah, it was only 1,000 calories of extra sugar, 250 grams of sugar, but it was not corn syrup. See, that's pure dextrose or glucose. It was high fructose corn syrup or sugar. I don't care what it formed. They gave them pop or fruit juice, candies, like candy corns, jelly beans, whatever. That's sugar. It's half of fructose. And in 3 weeks, you can get fatty liver and high insulin. In 3 weeks, just eating sugar, adding sugar to your diet. But you can't do that by go eat some apples. You can't eat enough apples. I've never seen it done. I think it's almost impossible.
Yeah. So in other words, people don't need to stress about fruit.
Well, I don't think fruit made you sick and fat. I
So-
think sugar did.
So drinking fruit juice, processed food, I think we all agree on that.
And why drinking sugar versus eating sugar? Because you can drink a whole heck of a lot more sugar very quickly and overwhelm your liver. It's like IV. It's just like instantly in your veins. IV in larger 23 teaspoons in a big soda of sugar, and in 20 seconds. But if you had to eat that sugar in a Twinkie or in a donut, it takes longer. It's harder. You can way overwhelm the system. Look at drinking sugar as like a knife and you're stabbing yourself. It's cutting you. It's causing wounds. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to eat lots of fruit and vegetables. That's awesome. But I'm going to drink 2 liters of soda. Forget it. You may as well just give up. Fix this drinking sugar. That's what's stabbing you and causing new injuries before you're going to right the ship. You're going to sink.
So there's a whole aisle at the store you need to avoid.
Drinking sugar is just like, number one, it's not needed. You do not. If you never drink sugar in your whole life, you'll be just fine. It's not necessary, and it hurts you. You can call that a poison. That's what poison is. Something that's not necessary for your body, and it's harmful.
And that's sugar.
So stop drinking it, especially if you're obese and diabetic.
Okay. So those are the 3 don'ts.
Yeah.
So let's talk about rule number 2.
And so, well, number 3, actually, rule number the 3 don'ts is don't eat more than 3 times. There's huge books written on each one of these. Sugar, Dr. Robert Lustig. His whole career is sugar. Okay, processed junk food. Dr. David Kessler, FDA, previous FDA director. Okay, he wrote his whole now retired career is on don't eat processed junk food. I'm making 3 rules that if you only did these things, each of these rules are somebody's books and careers. Just one of these rules. You think they're like really simple. Mm-hmm. It's a massive thing. Look up Dr. Lustig with sugar. Mm-hmm. Look up Dr. Kessler with processed food and how it removes all the normal fiber and elements and things like in an apple versus sugar juice, right? You see, and eating the sugar, processed food, the hormones and the insulin and all the things that regulate, it's not controlled. When you process your wheat and your grain and your corn and your fruit and your vegetables and you turn it into some weird packaged food, that is a whole, you can write books on these things, on that second rule. And the third rule is don't eat more than 3 times in 12 hours. Because that is technically intermittent
fasting. So does it
fasting.
reset for the next 12 hours?
Yeah. Yeah, you reset. Every day you do that. Every day. But
But you're saying to fast for 12 hours. My point is you don't get to eat 6 meals in a 24-hour period.
No, every 24 hours, you shouldn't eat more than 3 times in 12. That's intermittent fasting.
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
That just tricked you into doing something that you should have been doing anyway. We're not supposed to eat 6, 9, 12 times a day like I used to and graze all day.
I see all these dietitians and all these experts telling you to do that.
Yeah, because they don't have the understanding of the body's natural mechanism. It's in this influx.
And when I use the gasoline tank analogy, people totally get that. Like, oh, okay, you fill it up and then you empty it. So I shouldn't be filling it up every 2 hours because you haven't burned that many calories in the last 2 hours.
And there's actually a very good study. So the number 3 of the 3 don'ts, like I said, there's massive books. People's careers are each one of these 3 things. These are power. If you did one of those things, if you're breaking all these rules and you stopped drinking sugar, you just got better. If you stopped eating sugar and processed junk food, you just got better. If you only ate 3 times in 12 hours, you were eating 6 times in 15 hours, you just got better. That's massive because all of these little practical, applicable rules that you can start today, it's using the fact that your liver and your body want to regulate sugar. And when it gets low on sugar, it drops insulin and it uses up fat. And that's your problem, insulin and fat, you see? Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's a very good study. They gave people that were obese, wanting to lose weight, they dropped their calories in 2 groups. They divided the group into 2. Each group ate 500 calories less. One group ate their 1,500 calories for the day in 6 meals in 12 hours. The other group ate it in 3 meals in 12 hours. The group that ate the same amount of carbs, fat, and protein, same amount of total calories, lost 33% more fat than the group that ate that same amount of food and the same carbs. See, now it's not about carbs. It's not about calories. It's how many times you eat. They ate 6 times. They couldn't lose as much weight because why? Every time you eat, like you said, your insulin goes up. When your insulin goes up, you don't burn fat because that'd be stupid. So just that one move, you're like, oh, it's quick. No, these are massive things. If you didn't do anything except for go from 6 times of eating and eating in a 16-hour window, but now you're going to eat that same food. It's crap food. It's garbage. You shouldn't be eating it. But you ate it 3 times instead of 6. You just got better.
Love it. And so a calorie not a calorie.
I
Because
don't-
if you think if you fill your gas tank in your car up every 2 hours, but you only put 1 gallon in or whatever, that would probably be okay. But your body's not like that because a calorie is not a calorie. You just told me a study, same exact calories, same
Carbs,
exact
fat, protein.
content,
More weight loss.
33% weight loss
More weight
when you
loss.
eat it within that 12-hour window.
Less times. Yeah, and yeah. So they were both eating the 12-hour window, and they were both eating less calories, and they both ate the same.
Oh, I'm
amount
sorry. I thought it was in
No, they both had the same window. There's another study on windows.
So this is a snack. So
This is beautiful.
This whole stupid notion.
How many times do you eat in a day? That's why that's the third rule, dude. These are like very powerful rules. If you didn't do anything else, if we just stopped talking after the 3 don'ts, if you're breaking all these rules and you start doing it, you just got massively better. You can come off blood pressure medicine. You might stop taking it. Don't ever do anything without talking to your doctor. If you're on medications especially, don't do any of this stuff because it's powerful. In a day, you could drop your blood sugar and you don't have diabetes, but you got a bigger problem because you passed out or got hurt. Blood pressure gets low. Blood sugars get low. These are very powerful tools. So that study was showing you the same amount of calories, the same amount of carbs and fat and protein, but eaten divided into 6 meals in 12 hours or 3 meals into 12 hours.
Wow.
What do you want more than that, people? So what's making you sick? Eating 6 times a day instead of 3, you see? What's making you sick? Eating junk food
So
or sugar.
snacks. Every time
Snacking,
you say,
snacking.
I'm a little hungry.
And so if you'd said, I don't eat junk food, that's snacks. Bingo. I just got you to eat 3 times instead of 6. And then drinking sugar. That, do you see? Each of these things are, your body can't burn fat if it gets sugar, and it makes liver fat, which is not going to let you burn fat. Don't drink sugar, don't eat junk food, and eat 3 times in 12 hours. If you were breaking all those rules, and I love it when I talk to people that are, I don't even tell them anything else. If they're breaking all those rules terribly, drinking sugar all day long, eating snacks all day long, and then eating 10 times in 16 hours, I'm just like, hey, let's do these first rules, and you're going to love how you feel, and then we'll talk about finessing. Whether you want less carb, fasting, whatever. We don't need to get into that because you're breaking these fundamental rules.
So important. So let's go over. We're running out of time. This is like super fun, and we'll have to do this again. But so that's rule number 1. The 3 don'ts. What are the next 4 rules?
Number 2 is assess. So since that first rule is just, I believe everybody on the planet, this is what's helping making you sick. I just think everybody needs to do it. I don't even need to know that you're diabetic or obese or whatever. Just don't do these things. Your doctor would never tell you, oh no, you should keep drinking sugar. You should eat junk food, right? You should eat 20 times in a day and eat from 6 a.m. to midnight.
No, that last one, I've heard
Some people do.
people tell you that.
Some people do.
People with dietitian degrees.
And that's why I put it on.
And they tell diabetics,
Yeah.
oh, eat
Yes!
6 small meals
That's
a day,
true.
which is the exact opposite of what you should do.
That's true. That's true.
And that's coming from an institution. So that's why I think there's a lot of misinformation out here. And a lot of people are very confused. And they're like, man, I'm doing exactly what the dietitian told me. I'm doing exactly what the doctor told me. And I'm still sick. And I'm taking more insulin. And I can't get better. I can't lose weight. It's because you're swimming upstream.
Yep, and I guess that's why.
Because your insulin's high. You're trying to lose weight. How are you going to lose weight?
Yep, exactly.
If
I
your
guess
sugar's high.
that's why we're here talking about it. Because every time your body is going to do its magic trick and use up stored energy of fuel, glycogen in your liver, or stored liver fat, you put something in your mouth 6 times. Boom! And so it shut down. Your body was trying to heal this whole time. It was going to empty out the fuel tank, but you didn't know because you had given bad advice to eat all the time. So that's a good point. Yeah. So number 2 is assess for diabetes, metabolic syndrome, obesity, and fatty liver. Insulin resistance. You need to know if you have insulin resistance, any one of these 4 things, or insulin resistance, high insulin levels. You need, because this is like in the ER, somebody's going to die if they have a toe fracture because in a car accident, but then they're bleeding from their gut. Okay, this is bleeding from your gut. Okay, I can fix your toe, but if you're dead when you have a straightened toe, that's not cool. So those 4 things are basically the emergency condition of a body that has too much gas in the tank, too much fuel in the tank. That's the manifestations. That's how you know is you have diabetes, too much fuel in the tank. Metabolic syndrome, fatty liver, obesity. So find out with your doctor, do you have, that's your number 1
So
first goal.
number 2, go see your doctor and figure out if you're diabetic, metabolic syndrome,
Fatty liver, or obesity. So you need to know if you have any one of those 4 things.
Obesity, you probably don't need your doctor to figure that one out.
You probably don't, but it's...
There's a $20 device you can buy at any store. They can give you that hint.
I hope so, but I didn't... when you're in denial, you'd be surprised. I was obese.
And you
I
were
was
denial.
morbidly obese, Sorin, and I didn't think there was a problem.
You're like,
So
I'm just a big guy.
yeah,
I've always been a big guy.
when you're that person, you don't realize you can. Anyway, go to your doctor and ask him if you're obese. Okay, there's very simple ways to do it. Like you said, you can do it from your home if you're not in denial, or you can have a doctor tell you. Okay, but fatty liver, metabolic syndrome, but a little bit
As a doctor,
diabetes.
that's a great way to make friends.
Right?
Tell people they're obese.
No, but ask your doctor. It's like, hey, doc, do I have these things? Okay, and you can look them up. You can Google it, metabolic syndrome. You can Google diabetes. You can Google whatever. But then go to your doctor. You need to know your first thing you're gonna do. Do you have one of these? Because if you have one or more of these things, your priority in life is not having them. Do everything you can with your power and the doctor to reverse it and to improve it the best you can. And now you know how. It's a lifestyle and diet.
Rule number 3.
So after you've reversed your diabetes and your metabolic syndrome and your fatty liver and your obesity, talking with your doctor, you've assessed for it and reversed it. Number 3, now you need to prove to yourself that you can maintain your new health. You don't have diabetes, fatty liver, metabolic syndrome. You've been a good job doing fasting, low carb, whatever you're doing, intermittent fasting, and not drinking sugar processed food and not eating 20 times a day in 16 hours. And so now you're trying to prove to yourself, do I know what it was that made me sick? And do I know how to not get sick again? Now I need to make sure I don't get diabetes again. I don't get fatty liver again. And I don't get obesity again. I don't trend. So there's no hard and fast number or length of time. But you don't just reverse obesity and I'm not diabetic and then the next day just go on about your life. That's how I believe people rebound and they just gain everything back and they become
that's a
diabetic
problem.
again.
I'm sorry. That's the problem with every diet in America.
Yeah.
Is for a month I'm going to do this crazy diet, I'm going to do whatever, and they lose weight. My sister-in-law works for, I'll just call it generically, a diet, a weight loss clinic as a nurse practitioner, and she says she sees them all the time. They lose weight, they pay their big bucks, they lose the weight.
Gain it all back.
Gain it all back. Next year they're back again, and it's this yo-yo. So,
but if you know what made you sick, and like I said, those first 3 don'ts, many people are breaking those rules. And then if you are able, and in my experience talking to people and coaching, it takes a few months, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, maybe longer, depends on how morbidly obese you are or how sick you are. It's going to take you several months of following those rules, applying periods of not eating or fasting or not eating sugars and carbs or what have you to reverse it. But what I found out is if you actually are that person that reverses their diabetes, they're off the blood sugar medicine, they lost 60 pounds. The process that it took for you to get there, you now have tools and you have a gauge of this is how long I went, 16 hours, 24 hours, whatever, 36 hours without eating, just drinking water intermittently 2-3 times a week for 3 months to reverse these 4 dangerous things. But once you're healthy and you don't have diabetes and your body's healthy, it does what it's supposed to do, you don't have to do that anymore. You've fixed yourself. Your body works normally. Maybe now you don't eat instead of 32 hours in a row, 3 times a week. Maybe you don't eat for 16 hours in a row, 4 days a week. You see, the same tool that got you better, you will use, but you will dial way back.
I see what you're saying.
Because you're not curing a disease. You're not reversing something. Somebody that was way off course in the ditch. You don't have to make a big steering correction anymore because you're healthy. Now you make little baby corrections, fasting 16 hours, 14 hours, 12 hours. I don't know. Eating 3 times, 2 times instead of 1 time or 0 times in a day. Mm-hmm. The same tools of eating, not eating. How many times do I eat in a day? And how big is my window do I eat in a day? That's what's going to regulate it. And when you're healthy, it's very easy.
So you're saying, if you're healthy, you recommend not eating 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
12 to 16. But if you're not healthy, you're going
to have to, because, so imagine if you have
like 23 hours, that's what you did.
Right, or 72, or 36, or 24, or 48, whatever, with your doctor's permission, always. So if look at those 4 things when you assess for diabetes or obesity, one of those 4. Imagine you're in a car, and if you have diabetes and obesity, and there's the roadway. Imagine you're like aiming way off course. You're going to head off way into like 45-degree angle off the road into the ditch, into the field. To get back healthy, to get back pointing straight ahead down the road, you're not going to do it baby turn because you're aiming so far because you're diabetic or obese. You have to do major things like 36, maybe like I did, 16 hour, 24, 32, 48, 72. I don't know what it's going to be.
Hours of not eating.
Yeah, or 36 hours, 4 days a week of not eating. Well, that's a massive steering wheel term because I'm massively off course. But what if I'm not obese and diabetic anymore? Now I'm pointing straight down the highway, maybe a little veered off to the, I'm going to go off to the corner, but not too bad. So I do a steering correction. Instead of 12 o'clock, 12 hours eating, 12 hours not eating, I do 16. Oops, I do a little baby steering correction of 4 hours extra of fasting. And that's what I mean, I'm living what I'm telling you about. That's why do you think I haven't gained, I'm not 308 pounds, 3 years later. This is the insight that I've gotten. Okay.
Because you said you know how you got there, now you know how to fix it. So what's rule number 4?
So rule number 4 is now you add and increase and improve your physical activity, your endurance, your strength, your cardiovascular, your balance, your for longevity, for health, so you don't break things, so you don't fall, so you have good bones, you have a good heart and cardiovascular system, and that's where you focus. Not that you shouldn't be moving and walking and exercising when you have diabetes and obesity, although there are some patients it's not a good time. It's not always a good time to exercise. I jokingly say, if somebody's in the ER having a heart attack, do I say, hey, you need to start exercising? You'd be like, no, that's idiotic. There's obviously a bad time to exercise. Well, don't focus all your energy so much on exercise while you're obese and diabetic that you'd never reverse your obesity and diabetes and metabolic syndrome. That's not helping, okay? Exercise is tiny, but you can't outrun a bad diet. You can't drink 4 liters of Coke every day and be like, look at me, I'm on a treadmill and I'm obese and I have diabetes. You need to stop doing damage. That's why you do the in order, number 1, number 2, number 4 is exercise.
Exercise, yep.
Yep, and that's where you focus on exercise. Not that you don't do it before, that it's not important. Please don't get me wrong. I love moving and exercise and heart rate going up. But if you're diabetic or you have heart disease, exercise can kill you. It can hurt you.
Well, like you're talking about, you use the ER analogy, the guy with the bleeding
The wound.
gut or whatever and a broken toe. First you fix the bleeding gut that's going to kill you
Now.
right away.
Yeah.
And then you get to the, straightening out the
Yeah,
toe.
it's not good to have a broken toe. We all know that. But if the person's dead, who cares, right? So number 1, 2, that's why I have this order. My brain looks at things in order.
So what's number 5?
And number 5 is enhance everything that you've done to lose weight, and to step 3, maintain your healthy weight, and then 5, your exercise, right? And then 4, your exercise and activity, and then 5 is enhance everything you've just done and learned about life and what makes you sick and not, and make it better for longevity. So now that you're not going to die of a bleeding wound in the emergency room from diabetes or obesity or fatty liver, okay, it's not going to kill you. You've stopped cutting yourself, number 1. You've healed yourself, number 2. You've proven you can work with knives and not get cut, right? So number 3. Then 4 is you're getting better at it and stronger. 5, you enhance your sleep. You enhance your lifestyle, your social life, serving others, eating better foods, maybe finessing the kinds of foods that you eat, when you eat, do you need any, maybe you have a family history or a tendency to not be able to absorb nutrients or certain elements in your body or produce certain things you're supposed to do. And it's not going to kill you from a heart attack in 5 years like diabetes would or obesity, but in 30 years you might get cancer, or in 30 years you might have Alzheimer's, or in 30 years you might get dementia or some other weird thing. And so now you can focus on what might hurt me 30 years from now that you don't have a diabetic wound that's going to kill you 5 years from now.
That's a great way of looking at it. Love it. Love it. So I love these rules, and these rules to me are about a journey. Like, first, stop the stuff that's going to kill you right away. Number 2, if you've got any of those diseases that are going to kill you in 5 years, address those. Number 3, maintain those things that you've done. Number 4, start enhancing by exercising and really add physical activity. Number 5, look at the big picture and things that are going to get you in 30 years and really fine tune.
Fix that broken toe.
Because I see people want to fine tune. People are smoking and they are worried about, little pesticides in their fruit.
Exactly.
You know what I
mean?
mean?
But you're diabetic and you're going to have a heart attack in 5 years.
So you gotta assess your risk first. If you smoke, please stop smoking, and then worry that they're putting pesticides on whatever vegetable that you're not going to eat because.